Oh hey guys, didn't see you there. I'm just taking delivery of the Devel 16 today because, you know, when a car pulls up behind you, that means taking delivery. At least it does in the world of Supercar Blondie and Vlogs. Wait, my delivery. Hi, I'm Eric, and I'm going to do one more video on the Devel 16. I know I've done a whole bunch of them, but everyone seems to enjoy them, so I want to sort of wrap up my thoughts on it. And you should stick around for the middle of this video because I got one of the biggest rap stars on the planet. I have out-foosied Fousey Tubes, so you got to stay for that. Supercar Blondie Vlogs. Obviously, they are social media influencers, and yeah, I sort of poked a little bit of fun at them for promoting this car. Here's the deal behind social media influencers. They can be really powerful, they can be really useful for building your brand, but it's very interesting that Devel has decided to use these two people as spokespersons for the car, which I find really unusual. It's very unconventional. I've got a couple questions about this car. If they want to sell this on the open market, if they want to sell this as a car that you can drive in the street, that is in fact legal to drive in a westernized, a modern country with, you know, road traffic regulations, how are they going to do it? There's so much regulation, there's so much that goes into creating a car that is actually legal to drive. For example, in my last video I talked just a little bit about emissions and fuel economy standards, and that's definitely something that's really important. There's a whole shift going on right now over to electrics and electrification. That's a huge shift because of fuel economy standards. I'm not quite sure where Devel stands on that front. Something else I didn't address in the last video is safety standards. In order to sell a car pretty much anywhere in the world, you've got to meet crash standards, and there's all kinds of different crash standards. There's the side impact, there's the new frontal offset one, there's a head-on collision impact test that you've got to pass for that. How is Devel going to pass these tests? We've got a prototype car right now, which is pretty obvious it's a prototype. But if they want to make a street-legal production car, they've really got to pass these rigorous standards. My understanding in the US is you've got to provide 2 cars for crash testing to, I forget the name of the agency, I think it's the IIHS, I'll put that link below in the video here. So 2 cars for crash testing. So the 3 brothers that are developing the car, in Supercar Blondie's video, they talked about producing 7 of these cars over the next year. So are they going to provide 2 to the US for crash testing purposes? How does that work? That's something that's really interesting to me, but let's get real here. If the car is for sale, you've got to meet emission standards, you've got to meet crash test standards. So someone in the comments mentioned something about certification and getting a car imported into the UAE in Dubai, something about a Hellcat being really difficult to get into Dubai. I don't know anything about the laws over there specifically, about how they relate to car registration of vehicles and all that. In the US, obviously, to bring a car in, it's very difficult unless it meets all the standards. So even in Dubai, it's probably very difficult to get a car certified to drive legally on public streets. So even in Dubai, if that's the market for this car, how are they going to get it street legal? In Europe, they have new safety standards for pedestrians that were introduced a couple of years ago. So if you look at all the new German cars, the nose of the cars is like pretty vertical, fairly flat, and that's in order to save pedestrians from some kind of injury or reduce injury when the car contacts the pedestrian. If you look at the front of the Devel, it's got a really steep slope on it, so I don't see that really being a thing in Europe. So actually, it's really difficult to bring a car to market and meet all the standards for every different country. If you look at General Motors, for example, they have cars that they sell in Europe, and they have cars that they sell in North America, but they don't bring them all over to North America. And conversely, they don't bring them all over to Europe because sometimes just simple things like the bumpers and the standards, the crash standards, are a little bit different. And so to certify a car, there's really a ton of work that you've got to do, and it costs millions and millions of dollars. So these regulations are not a joke. They're actually pretty difficult to comply with. So the VW scandal from 2015 was absolutely huge. VW was caught cheating on emissions on their diesel cars, and the US government came down really hard on them. And in fact, there is at least one person who is sitting in federal penitentiary in the US right now serving 7 years, a senior VW official, for this emissions scandal, for basically lying to the government. So that's how seriously emissions are taken. Devel has a 2,000 horsepower version, a 3,000 horsepower version, and a 5,000 horsepower version that's for track only. So let's exclude the 5,000 horsepower version from the emission standards. What about the other two, the 2 and the 3,000 horsepower versions? How are those engines going to meet emission standards in North America or Europe. So Supercar Blondie and Mo Vlogs have got a pretty unique presentation style that is, super enthusiastic. They're clearly, not part of the mainstream automotive press. They're not journalists in any capacity at all. And they've been hyping up this car like really, really seriously. They've both done a number of videos on this car. So here is something I've been thinking about. You've got a car that costs $1.6 to $2 million, I think, in that price range. So the market for that car, the people that are potentially going to buy that car, are essentially very, very wealthy people, probably who have investment money. I mean, people that can afford $2 million for a car. It's a lot. So this is an audience that is, they're not kids. They're not 13-year-olds. They're not the audience that Mo Vlogs is attracting. Supercar Blondie, I think, has a slightly different audience, but Mo Vlogs is clearly attracting a pretty young audience. So if you're trying to sell this car and you're trying to get $2 million for it, and you're using Mo Vlogs, like that's not congruous to me. Like that doesn't actually make a lot of sense because you're developing all this hype in the car, but these are not serious automotive folks. You're bringing in this really young audience. How does that develop an attraction for a car like this? It just doesn't compute to me somehow. I don't understand it. So in any kind of conventional car launch, any kind of build up to a car, typically what you do is you invite the mainstream press out, maybe not necessarily to drive it, but to demo the car, to show it off on a racetrack. For example, with the Toyota Supra, Toyota has been teasing the car. They brought it out to a track in Spain recently, let the journalists drive it. They've been showing off the car as it's coming close to production. We know it's a real car because they've been teasing a lot of details, but they're very specific details. In the case of the Devel 16,
So with you.
So the Devel 16, they're using Mo Vlogs, they're using Supercar Blondie, who are clearly not the mainstream automotive press, and that's a very deliberate decision. But in most typical car launches, let's say, for example, the lead up to the Toyota Supra that's going to be coming out sometime in 2019, Toyota has been teasing the car, they've been showing it off, they've been inviting journalists out to a racetrack in the south of Spain, for example, and they've been showing it off, maybe not with all the specs, but they've got it under wraps. They've got it under camo, and they're still showing the car. It's a real car. It drives. In the case of the Devel 16, you don't have any mainstream automotive journalists there who I would say are going to be objective, that are checking out the car, been invited to see it. You've got social media influencers. You've got Shmi. You've got Supercar Blondie, and some other people that have seen the car at the Dubai Auto Show, but nowhere else. So if it's, if the car really is real, if it's well developed, if it's well along the prototype phase and it's getting close to production, which is what they're claiming a production car in 4 months. If it's that close to production, you'd think maybe they'd want to show it off. Now, obviously, maybe they are close, maybe they're hiding it, maybe they are keeping it secret, maybe they will show it to the mainstream press, but it's just a very odd cycle, this development cycle, where they haven't shown any of it to the mainstream press at all. It's all strictly been social media influencers. Oh, and my special guest is here. It's Drake. Hey, welcome, Drake. He's gonna rap for us right now.
I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset.
Oh my God, I got Drake on, and FouseyTube wasn't even able to do that. So, man, that is just the power that I have right now. Aside from Drake being my video, here's the big question that I really have. What is the end game for this car? I'm actually pretty confused because we've got this weird social media influencer thing going with Mo Vlogs and Supercar Blondie. And who's the market for this car? I just don't get it. People that want a car like this, that are going to spend a couple $1 million, I think are the kind of people that want to take this car to a hotel, show it off. It's a really amazing looking vehicle. People want to show this thing off, maybe take it to a racetrack. I don't know who the audience for this thing is. It's just, I'm actually kind of confused. So if you have ideas about that, let me know. Also, I obviously can't keep making Devel videos forever and ever and ever. This kind of content is going to come to an end. I'm thinking about doing something on maybe the Hennessy F5. Beyond that, let me know in the comments down below what kind of topics you'd like me to cover in the future, and I'll definitely consider that. I had a thought about the Devel 16, and that is people want to know more about it. So I was thinking maybe I should call up Steve Morris Engineering, and if they are actually developing the engine, see how many V16 engines they are planning to ship to the production facility. If you want me to do that, let me know in the comments below, and I'll see what I can do to make that happen. I'm Eric. I'll see you guys in the next video.
I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset. I'm upset.